So I was like, look, might as well test the taser on it. And I'm not gonna lie, bro, it actually felt amazing. Right, lads, listen up. Look, we've got a new client, right? They're a Serie A club. They're called Atalanta. Our job is to sort out their security doors, all right? And this is a big deal. It's a big client, all right? So I need you to lock in. Surely we need to lock out. Like, get people locked out of the venue rather than lock them in.
We're at the Atalanta Stadium, right? Mountains in the back. What could the password for this gate possibly be? What date were the team made? 1907. Yeah. Top-notch security, that.
You made the password 1907. It's on the badge. Well, yeah, I needed it to be easy so that I could remember it. Yo guys, it is your boy Neren here, and you are watching FTW. This is of course the series where I bring to you the best and more frequently the worst of what football has to offer during the last 7 days. Before we kick off this one, I just want to say I'd massively appreciate it if you slap the like button. It really does help out in terms of you guys seeing future episodes, and make sure to subscribe as well. But what's been kicking off in the world this week? Well, 5 people in India sadly passed away after a disease that's been passed through bats found its way into their systems, and seemingly it has no known cure.
These games before!
Brother, please, I'm just trying to make it to GTA 6, man.
Rest in peace, my granny, she got hit by a bazooka.
Oh my god, last time we got Philip Schofield hugging through plastic. This time he'll be hugging through bars or something. To be fair though, Eat Out to Help Out Part 2 could be kinda lit. Liverpool's inhalers will be warming up to winners the league again. Meanwhile, Kyle Walker will be clapping cheeks for the NHS. On to the football though now. This week has been a massive one in Europe as the Champions League phase came to its conclusion. But before we get on to that, we start with a team watching at home like the rest of us. It's the Sky Sports surfers, BBC bystanders. The Al Jazeera attendees have had about as much to do midweek as the average Greenwood Twitter stan account. Jobless. United are, however, free from the shackles now of known Al-Qaeda sympathizer Ruben Boko Haram and are being led by caretaker Michael Carrick. Last week, Carrick identified as Sir Alex Ferguson. Meanwhile, Man City's Pep Guardiola identified as, well, 2026 Pep Guardiola. Next up was another title challenger, part-time football club and full-time cringe compilation Arsenal, and the Red Devils off the back of a Derby Day victory. Wait, they won again?
What a sensational hit from Mateus Cunha!
You fucking piece of shit! You fucking wankers! I fucking hate this team! A late dramatic Mateus Cunha curler earned United all 3 points versus the league leaders here. I've got to praise United again, guys. I can't do this. You know what? To be fair to Ruben Amorim, he didn't actually say who was going to be bringing the good times.
Are you coming?
Michael Carrick has back-to-back Premier League wins. Just take that into account, because it took Amorim a hair follicle GoFundMe, the blood of Jesus, in about 14 months.
Get the contract out, put it on the table, let him write whatever numbers he wants to put on there.
Carrick's been in charge for 1 business week and he's got more points this year than Thomas Frank. Make of that what you will. Manchester United are genuinely unstoppable when it comes to beating sick teams and then losing to the shit ones. Meanwhile, for Arsenal fans, a familiar trend is beginning to appear after recent title battles.
I'm not bothered, really, I'm not bothered.
Now let's talk about the story of this game. The Gunners would take the lead through their star striker, Owen goal, but United would come back from behind, including a beautiful screamer from Patrick Dorgu. Brilliant interchanging play before a strike on the half volley from the Dane. Tweeting in that position, he just had to smash it. He's also smashed up his hamstring. Yeah, nah, he's out for 10 weeks now.
He was special.
He's taken this Gareth Bale arc a little bit too literally. At 2-1 down, and Mikel Arteta realised he needed to change things. A 3.5-man substitution would ensue, including the half, Victor Gyökeres. Manchester United fans were loving this one. Yeah, how do you come back from this? Like, their other fans are celebrating you coming off. The changes would have an effect as Arsenal did equalise thanks to a conga line in United's penalty area. Mateus Cunha had been able to nullify it at one stage, but genuinely, this lot looked like they were on the Bakerloo line. This is a Royal Rumble, not a set piece, lads. What's going on? But from breaking ribs to breaking hearts, Mateus Cunha would strike a dagger through Arsenal's. A lovely curled effort, the winner here. Bobby Mainu, after starring against Manchester City, once again covered more ground than any other player here. And United were victors, helped by a Gyökeres clearance right at the death.
You think I'm paying all that money for you to do that?
Gabriel, meanwhile, was being thrown in a shopping trolley by Harry Maguire. As for David Beckham, he was teasing his Arsenal-supporting son, Romeo Beckham, over on Instagram as he embarks on a journey to be hated by all of his children. Brooklyn, I'm sure, had no sympathy for his brother here.
You all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you?
Meanwhile, David Beckham was trying to get to the bottom of exactly what happened at the wedding. You know, it was more of a dance, I suppose. Let's be honest, tell him what really happened. Fine, I'll bust it down Carney style on him. Thank you. Mikel Arteta, I want you to know, this is why Xavi and Iniesta got ahead of you in the playing days. The Spanish gods and overlords are watching him play this haram ball and they're not happy about it. Unserious chaos ball won here. Anti-football analytic risk avoidance lost. I can't believe I'm twerking for United like this. That is crazy. Even the players know Amad Diallo saying Arsenal can only win with corners over on Twitter. This absolutely rumbled Gunner supporters and they were fuming at him. But it's okay when their centre-back Gabriel does it in the exact same fixture a few years ago. The shithousery award for Amad Diallo stands. Now, a recent trend on social media has been reminiscing to 2016. Better times, allegedly. Well, look, the UK were making terrible decisions. A man definitely not in those files was made the US president, and Harambe was unalive. Now, I suppose not much has actually changed looking at 2026, and Liverpool are even commemorating the time by being just as shit as we were in 2016. I was ready to Pokemon go and throw myself off a large building. There was no sign of a star boy in our squad as we were defeated against Bournemouth. Milos Kerkez performing the mannequin challenge versus his former side. Now, I spoke about the game in a lot more detail in this video here in terms of tactically what we got wrong, but honestly, forget all that noise. It's time for a new sport, ladies and gentlemen. Why are you riding me, man? That's a bit of a pause, you know. How irrationally inexplicable. You understand how dark it is when I look at BBC Sport and I realise that Liverpool have to play again this week. Arne Slot must be surprised realising that he's now in the Andoni Iraola penitentiary, and the goals were an absolute disaster in this one as we were defeated 3-2. Virgil van Dijk was attempting to aura farm a ball out of play, suggesting the wind was the reason for his error here.
We mustn't forget that it's been raining. So
are you being serious? It's raining for both teams.
During this goal, Joe Gomez got injured and had to go off for 6 minutes. We refused to put the ball out of play so we could replace him with Wataru Endo for some reason, and then conceded whilst we were down to 10 men. Milos Kerkez has taken an IQ test during the course of this week, and it came back negative. And now with Joe Gomez out injured, Ibrahima Konate's been absent recently too. We are down to one fit centre-back, lads.
So we don't have the capacity.
At the other end of the pitch, and I'm going to need Mohamed Salah to put the Christmas tree down at some point. We had 80% possession in the first half an hour of the second half, and that got us 0 shots on target until Dominic Szoboszlai's free kick. What were we even doing before that point?
Which US actress starred as the nanny in the film The Nanny Diaries?
Pass.
Scarlett Johansson. D. Chox is a British chocolate. Football manager Rafa.
Meanwhile, Liverpool, clearly fed up, have decided to contact the environment of Xabi Alonso. What does this even mean? Yep, yeah, mate. Yeah, no, I think I understand. Yeah, it's oxygen. Now, though, the moment you've been waiting for. It's Champions League o'clock. There were a stupendous amount of games going on the Wednesday this week, because, of course, all the remaining games in the league phase had to be played at the same time. I was struggling to remember the sheer volume of teams playing on that evening.
3, 2, 1, go.
Barrow, Carlisle, Newcastle, Sunderland, Middlesbrough, Harrogate, Holgren.
Part defence, man. I was out here trying to orchestrate a 47-fold ACCA, and my dad wasn't too impressed when I gambled the family house away, and every single bet that I'd put on had been absolutely dusted within 3.5 minutes.
What are you thinking?
You know what they say, though? Bet your house, win a mansion. And that's exactly what would have happened if you betted on anything that happened and won in the final few minutes of Real Madrid's clash against Benfica. Los Blancos were facing off against the Portuguese side, knowing they'd already qualified, and were in fact behind 3-2 going into the final minutes. This, though, wasn't enough for Benfica. They were currently level in 25th place behind Marseille, behind them only on goals scored. That meant they needed a goal going into the final minutes of the game to qualify on goal difference. What happened next would be absolutely astounding.
I'm not feeling the pressure, no. You cannot put pressure on me. No chance.
Ele vai, levantou, na área, cabeceamento, gol!
Trubini got their neck muscles out in the 98th minute. The scenes were glorious. A goalkeeper scoring a goal in the 98th minute to see his side through to the knockout stages of the Champions League on goal difference. Genuinely remarkable. One of the craziest storylines probably of this season so far. It led to bonkers Benfica celebrations where a coach accidentally injured somebody, and saw, I'm sure, Jose Mourinho sprinting down the touchline again for old time's sake. One man on Twitter suggested that the one winning only bet that you could rely on for this one was that a goalkeeper wouldn't score across the 18 games. Yeah, nah, it's not looking good, man. He was waking up looking at his bank account this morning. Meanwhile, I know Mikel Arteta has just seen a goalkeeper score from a set piece and he's hatching a plan. The Ukrainian shot stopper now has the same amount of goals in the Champions League this season as Vinny Jr., who of course he was facing off against. Barcelona fans, meanwhile, after their clash, were loving the fact that Real had been defeated. Raul Asensio was cosplaying as a defender in this one and was walked like a dog halfway through. I don't even know what bro was trying to do here. To be fair, Benfica deserved the win. They out-XG'd Real Madrid in this one, whose midfield this season have been utterly useless. Now that's some good security. Shut the fuck up. And Jude Bellingham knew that in an interview afterwards.
Feels horrible, you know, to lose like this in this manner. Running out of words for some of these games now.
He was ready to KO his own midfield teammates 57 minutes in. This result, of course, inadvertently knocked Marseille out of the Champions League. A great result for pretty much everybody. Apparently, going into the game, according to Twitter's AI Grok, there's only a 0.00005% chance of this eventuality actually happening, which is also the same amount of chance as a Marseille squad going a full season without somebody getting arrested. Though this is also according to Grok, so it probably got distracted undressing women without their consent. This harrowing situation for Marseille, partly down to the fact they lost 3-0 to Club Bruges, who congratulated them on their big screen, only for Marseille to not actually make it through to the knockouts. And all of this was a little bit too much for one Marseille supporter. Elsewhere, and Liverpool, who beat Marseille last week, defeated Qarabag 6-0. The bag for life firmly killed off here. Virgil van Dijk, for some unknown reason, got a hat-trick of assists. In a game we should have been winning, but it was a very convincing performance, topped off by a goal from Federico Chiesa, which had Arne Slot absolutely fuming. Fede must have been very confused when he scored and then looked over the touchline and noticed Arne Slot loading a shotgun. Arne himself seemingly very happy with how Liverpool are doing in the Champions League, comparing our current campaign to the fact that Jurgen Klopp had Liverpool losing to Atalanta in the Europa League 2 years ago. I know Jurgen is arriving at Anfield this weekend and he's taking matters into his own hands. He's attacking Arne Slot. Arne's actually Liverpool's biggest hater, I've just realised. And Liverpool are your Premier League champion. Oh, allow it, man. Flipping, what? Go get your mask out and everybody go home and socially distance. I'm putting an asterisk next to this one. He watches our miracle in Istanbul and brings up the fact we got out-XG'd. I know that he does. Easily the most impressive thing, though, despite being beaten 6-0 here, was Qarabag making history, being the first Azerbaijani side to ever make it to the Champions League knockout stages. Yes, they were beaten heavily here, but before this season, no Azerbaijani side had ever even won a Champions League game. These lot have won 3 of them in the same campaign. Arsenal were, of course, in action, and they welcomed Kazakhstani side Kairat. They won 3-2 with Victor Gyökeres scoring. It's Kairat, man. But he also missed 5 big chances in the game, so make of that what you will. Fair play to Kairat, by the way, for grabbing 2 goals in this game against one of the best sides in Europe, really. Although you wouldn't have believed that fact if you'd seen Noni Madueke's horror shot from a short corner. How do you even get this much height on it? Some poor grandma living 8 roads away has just had the shock of her life.
Deliver us.
In the most Tottenham piece of news of all time, elsewhere in North London, and they finished in the top 4 in the Champions League, yet they're in a relegation battle in the league. Dominic Solanke will be showing off his Champions League winners medal to Bristol City next season. Meanwhile, elsewhere and at Chelsea, they were victorious too, beating Napoli and confirming Antonio Conte's side don't qualify for the knockout stages. Joao Pedro scored a brace and was getting interviewed at full time when his manager Liam Rosenior arrived.
Today was my dream game, my first trophy, man of the match, 2 goals. The gaffer is very good.
This is what it is. This is the difference. Antonio Conte, he's not been aging men. That's the problem. He could be seen crashing in and smashing Chelsea's Lego Tower of the Week. For all the things that are crazy that Liam Rosenior has been saying so far, he's getting results. Cole Palmer is struggling a little bit listening to Rosenior speak a new language, however. It's English. Everyone qualifies from the Champions League phase these days, and yet Antonio Conte somehow hasn't. At Barcelona, and Marcus Rashford grabbed a goal as they defeated Copenhagen. He scored Barcelona's first free kick at the Nou Camp since Lionel Messi. Meanwhile, Gavi was on hand to show Lamine Yamal the Real Madrid scoreline. The scoreline at the Parc des Princes was 1-1 between PSG and Newcastle. This one featured one of the worst penalty decisions I've seen in Europe in a while. And once again, it was Newcastle being done dirty against PSG, as the ball appeared to ricochet off Bradley Barcolla's arm, then onto Lewis Miley's, somehow resulting in a PSG penalty. The ref could be seen cutting out the Parc de France with 4.7 million euros in his back pocket. Thankfully, justice was done, Nick Pope making a save from Ousmane Dembele, who then proved he has a phobia of the ball altogether later on in the half. Paris is going to be in disarray after conceding to Joe Willock and a bean and cheese melt in this one. The English sides continued their domination in the league phase as Man City then beat Galatasaray, whose fans were lighting up the streets of Manchester on the way to the Etihad. Erling Haaland unsurprisingly grabbed a goal. That means he's got 56 Champions League goals in total already. It's a reunion for Pep Guardiola with the likes of Ilkay Gundogan and Leroy Sané, though I think Sané wants to just go back to playing in Manchester again after his strictly doner kebab diet in Turkey.
I'm not happy. I hate it here.
And he's getting violent in training, throwing this training marker as a javelin at one of his Galatasaray teammates. Maybe he's just a madman. Like, is there something wrong with it? Sadio Mane should have beaten him up again. Meanwhile, in Norway, and what shout out to Bodo Glimt, to qualify for the knockout stages as well. Their first Champions League win only came in 2026. They've achieved back-to-back victories against Manchester City and Atletico Madrid to qualify. To be fair, Diego Simeone in 2026 is an entirely different specimen to what he used to be, but it is a massive achievement for the Norwegian side. They've not played a competitive game since December the 10th because their season ended ages ago, and they come from a town of just 54,000 people, so well done to them. One of the best run teams in the entire footballing world. It's another bad week for Crystal Palace. All their players want to leave and they were defeated 3-1 by Chelsea. Oliver Glasner will be cutting out of South London immediately after this depression spiral run of a lifetime. And he'll be doing it quick time after being chased down the street by a Millwall fan. Don't do this, fam. If you see managers or footballers walking around doing normal stuff, don't be a fucking idiot. Brighton have probably firmly had enough of VAR at this stage after Danny Welbeck was called offside for having 25% of his sleeve beyond the last defender. Brentford had had enough of Nottingham Forest, clearly, with the announcement of this goal. Jesus! Meanwhile, El Hadji Diouf returned back as a winner of the African Cup of Nations. He got a lovely reception from his West Ham teammates. And as for Aston Villa, they defeated Newcastle. Amadou Onana this time shoving the 3 points in his boot. Yeah, that looked a little bit suspect. Anthony Elanga baffed next to him whilst Onana fingers his trainer. In Spain now, Real Madrid got the better of Villarreal. A game that started with Villarreal welcoming home one of their Senegalese AFCON winners, only for the broadcast to cut straight to Brahim Diaz, who missed that fabled Penenka. This is despicable. The guy in front of him taking a picture is mad. The picture he got on Ultra Zoom must be absolutely insane. Kylian Mbappe, meanwhile, had the nerve to fail the Brahim Diaz Penenka by actually scoring it, and then commented after the game saying that was for Brahim. Bro, you just made him feel worse. He got PTSD as he saw it looping off your foot. Kylian could be seen forcing Brahim to watch highlights of his Penenka from 9 different angles to make him feel better. Barcelona were also victorious, 3-0 the scoreline against Oviedo. Lamine Yamal was with his brother in the tunnel. I've never seen this kid, like, not wear a Barca shirt before. He's never just wearing normal clothes. And Lamine himself scored an absolutely filthy bicycle kick in this game. The new camp itself, though, not quite looking as good as there was flooding, really, and water falling from the roof. A nuclear bomb going off halfway through this video probably didn't help the scenario, but now I get why Yamal's so good. They've been bumping him with uranium for the last 3 years. There was rats inside the ground. This gaff is just Old Trafford, bro. Who let Luis Figo in this place? Come on, man. Hansi Flick, meanwhile, was describing this beating. No, not the Oviedo one. He revealed that he likes being on top. Here we can see Hansi when he's flicking, but his partner wants to move into doggy. Fucking hell, bro. You don't get this sort of analysis anywhere else. At Villarreal in the Champions League against Leverkusen, Arnau Tenas will not want to watch this mistake back. And Sevilla announced the signing of Neil Maupay from Marseille. First of all, when did my man start looking like this? Is that Danny Aaron's, bro? It was an awkward reunion for Neil Maupay and Sevilla's admin, who had once tweeted slander about him in the past. Neil responded by putting him in a headlock. The admin will now have some choice words for Neil when posting about his goal scoring over on Twitter.
He may have actually picked the wrong club.
Augsburg distributed Bayern Munich's first Bundesliga defeat of the season, and they couldn't really quite believe it. Getting on the good side of Arsenal supporters with this tweet following full time, as well as this text conversation that shows if you post a picture of Harry Kane, it means that you're not showing up. Yeah, it's a shithousery award for them. Borussia Dortmund fans are fuming at a current transfer situation. They signed Aaron Anselmino from Chelsea on loan for the season. However, they didn't put any sort of clause into his loan to stop him from being recalled. He's now gone back to Stamford Bridge, and they're sat in Chelsea's cuck chair. Yeah, and trust me, there's a lot of action. Meanwhile, Stuttgart's Dennis Undav was signing shirts for fans and then decided to answer a phone call that one of the supporters got. In Italy, Kenan Yildiz is slapping it for Juventus right now. He helped them to a 3-0 victory over Napoli, and he's got these new gloves that actually form the star for his celebration. His surname, by the way, in Turkey is Star. That's actually mad. At AC Milan, and Luka Modric is getting into the spirit of being Italian already. Juventus manager Luciano Spalletti's gone from slapping his players to slapping their supporters. Meanwhile, at Lecce, and I just wanted to highlight this little physio and his run that he's doing, guys. Proper adorable, bro. He ain't going nowhere quickly, though. 24 pace on FIFA. Meanwhile, in France, and it's been a great start to life at Lyon for Endrick, who scored a hat-trick this week in Ligue 1. An unreal performance. This loan already looks like it's going to be good for him. Plus, it's a chance for him to play for his boyhood club. Well, you know, look, listen, I always grew up watching Lucien Jasseron, so obviously it makes kind of sense. An OGC Nice versus Go Ahead Eagles was clashing in the stands, with supporters eventually having to use Google Translate to work out what they were actually beefing each other about. And at Marseille, Ethan Wanyeri scored on his debut for the club and seemingly was baffed by the view of Quentin Timber, the twin of his Arsenal teammate Jurien. He's seen a familiar face here, just not a familiar government name. He was confused when he saw them both walk through for a family picture at Quentin's signing. Now, though, it's time for your goals of the week, and I've got 4 bangers for you. First of all, we start in Colombia, where Tinito Gomez has picked the ball up outside of the area and has absolutely crashed it over the goalkeeper. There's similar power on a strike coming from South Africa, though, where a corner has been played out to Teboyo Mokoena, and in the CAF Champions League, he's unleashed this brilliant strike. The beautiful goals keep coming, this time directly from the corner. No playing it around from Nicolas Barros. He's scored a beautiful Olympico direct from the set piece. And finally, we go to Myanmar. Of all places, we're going to find one of the best hit volleys that you're going to see all year. Shout out to Lang Bobo with this one.
Hello all, and welcome to The Beautiful Game, the segment where we take a look at the poetic and brilliant side of the game that we love. We are back by popular demand for yet more glorious beauty. And that concludes The Beautiful Game.
Now, in Turkey, and there's been some interesting refereeing going on. Probably not a massive surprise given the betting scandal that rocked the nation a few months ago. But this time, we've got a referee dishing out 2 yellow cards literally in the space of 2 seconds for a player arguing with him about where a free kick should be taken. Genuinely, like, you're being the main character. Just stop. Like, give him a yellow and get on with the game. One Turkish referee, though, is attempting to get on with the game, though I would advise that he doesn't. Down in the 3rd division, this ref decided that he needed a pitch inspection despite being stood in 6 foot of snow in Qatar, and I want a check on some match fixing, because this has got to be one of the worst own goals I've ever seen a goalkeeper score, as it bounces off the woodwork from him punching it into his own net. In Saudi Arabia, and Darwin Núñez is clean thrown goal for Al Hilal. And it's great to see that he's not lost any of that chaos ball. What the hell is this finish, bro? There were pretty tragic scenes, actually, in the Netherlands, where for Feyenoord, Shaquille Van Persie picked up what looks like a major knee injury in a game against Betis in the Europa League. Now, he was stretchered off the pitch, and Robin Van Persie called for the medical team to place him down next to him so he could chat to him as a dad, not just as a manager. Robin, who himself suffered with pretty bad injuries throughout the course of his career at times, and hopefully Shaquille will see him back on the pitch very soon, because he just started to perform really well. MLS champions Inter Miami played in a friendly against Peruvian side Alianza this week and were defeated pretty heavily 3-0. One fan managed to touch or handshake with Lionel Messi. He was so close to the stands taking a corner. And another fan was on the pitch for Alianza. Alan Cantero has a Messi tattoo on his leg, and he managed to swap shirts with Leo at full time. Cue a lot of emotion. Up in Scotland, and the weather is weathering, and Arbroath versus Greenock, a goal kick has gone out of the stadium. Make that make sense, bro. What the hell is even going on up there? Meanwhile, if you want an even more ridiculous league, then check out Poland right now. This division is absolutely insane, and that's just for the names alone. We've got a newly promoted side top of the table. We've got one of the most successful teams in Polish history down at the bottom, and there are 11 points covering every single team. Teams at the top have barely scored any goals. Teams towards the bottom have scored loads. The goal difference makes no fucking sense. It is absolute chaos over there. At Corinthians now, and Yuri Alberto's had his trousers down, no, legitimately, during this celebration. There were crazy scenes in Portugal for Paz de Ferreira equalising in the 11th minute of injury time, then going on to score the winner in the 13th minute of injury time. Trinity Rodman managed to get US women's national team coach Emma Hayes to do the sexy Dexy dance after scoring. The game's gone in it, realistically. Meanwhile, in the Australian Championship, and we've got the worst free kick routine of all time.
They all run over it, and well, I'm not sure if that was the intended one for Avondale because all three of them had faked each other out.
Austrian ultras of Lask are turning up. It doesn't matter what age group, they could be seen kicking off at an under-9s tournament. And the next generation, they're so important to football, although Leroy Sané clearly doesn't think so, blanking this Galatasaray supporter. Yeah, Sadio Mane, listen, I joked earlier, you are going to have to slap him up now. Meanwhile, in Brazil, an Oscar was pictured with his wife and sister. Hang on a sec, which one is his sister? There were incredible scenes at Wrexham, who came back from behind to score 2 goals in the space of 90 seconds to earn victory against QPR. The South Coast derby between Pompey and Southampton created some interesting moments, mostly to do with supporters, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what was going on with this Pompey fan trying to just stare down Saints supporters. One, though, decided to be a lot more direct with it, physically running onto the pitch and calling out the entire Saints end. At Wigan now there's the realisation their managers never actually heard the word calamity said in real life.
And then again to concede another calamity goal, which...
Meanwhile at Kings Lynn, and they are trying to get an unfair advantage. One eagle-eyed supporter had noticed that their starting 11 actually had 12 players on it. In Kazakhstan now, and they're making moves, clearly inspired by the likes of Kairat in the Champions League, Nani has come out of retirement to sign for a Kazakh side, and Victor Moses has also moved over there as well. In Brazil, I'm absolutely here for this forward who's just scored, catching a glass of water that's been thrown for the stands, and his teammate karate kicking another one in the background. I don't know which is more impressive, actually. Meanwhile, in Switzerland, there's magical scenes for FC Thun at the moment, who have just been re-promoted to the Swiss League. They're currently top by 7 points and are starting to dream that they can maybe do the impossible. Now the time for Still 0-0, and you guys know the score by now. This is a segment of the show where I bring to you the best of Sunday League and amateur football. And one thing, look, that can get frowned upon sometimes in Sunday League is the adventure into skill. You know, no one wants to see a guy doing a rainbow flick at Sunday League. You'll end up with a broken leg. That memo hasn't quite reached Spain, unfortunately, in this semi-pro match, where one winger's decided that he's going to do the skill where you stand on the ball, except the defenders aren't happy with him, and both of them have absolutely clamped him here. On to the weird stuff though now. We start in Russia, where Roberto Moreno has been sacked for some unusual managerial practices. Now, Roberto Moreno briefly actually was manager of the Spanish national team. He moved to Sochi FC a couple of years ago. They were on the verge of getting relegated already, so his task was basically to take them back to the top flight. Only he decided that instead of, you know, coming up with his own plans on how to manage the team, he would just ask ChatGPT everything. ChatGPT had some interesting strategies for him, including not allowing players to sleep for 28 hours before matches and getting them up at training at 5 in the morning. Unsurprisingly, his coaching staff were a little bit bemused by this, and his players started to lose faith. So when they were promoted back to the Russian top flight and they only earned 1 point in his first 7 games, he's been swiftly given the boot and been sacked. And finally, over in Malta, we had an unusual reason for a game being postponed. You see, this game at the Victor Tedesco Stadium wasn't really even at all. And by that, I mean the goal frames were different sizes. Yeah, for some reason, I don't know how, and I don't know why this had only just happened, but one of the goal frames was 4 centimeters higher than the other one. Who even noticed this? Because 4 centimeters, well, to be fair, I think it's above average, actually. Unfortunately, it couldn't be fixed, so the game had to be abandoned. That, though, is going to wrap up football this week, and I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then feel free to slap a like on the video, and of course, subscribe if you're new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is @officialfng on Twitter and on Insta. It's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.